Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Kirkpatrick podcast. Hey, Jim, how are you?
I'm good, Vanessa. Glad to be here.
Well, before we get started, I'm going to give you an abbreviated update this time. I know I can kind of drone on a little bit, but I want to make sure that you hear all the goodness that we're doing at Kirkpatrick Partners. So if you will indulge me. We just finished the first ever Kirkpatrick Launchpad, and it was our very first introduction to the model and really helping people understand what's been changed, what's updated, and give them a little bit taste of what the Kirkpatrick certification program looks like. And so we actually have another date coming up in November. So if you missed it in October, then you have this opportunity to join as well. Also, we've got an opportunity still to get enrolled in the Kirkpatrick certification program. If you're interested in bronze, we still have dates available for 2024. Do not let 2024 go without getting the certification. It is a time to invest in yourself. If you would like to request something for Christmas, perhaps may I recommend a Kirkpatrick certification, something that you are going to take with you and improve your career and hopefully get you some more money, which does happen with a certification program.
Does
It does happen. So it's a very good investment. Well, dare I say the ROI is pretty good?
you dare?
I dared. Other than that, please make sure that that you check out our 2025 events. If 2024 is not in the cards for you, our events calendar is up and out for 2025. And of course, we've got our Kirkpatrick Summit coming in 2025, September 9th to 11th, and speaker applications are open for it. Whew. Oh, wait. And it's open for enrollment. So make sure you get in on that. So if maybe the certification program isn't for you, maybe you should ask for a ticket to go to the Kirkpatrick Summit. We've got a really cool theme. I don't know if I can say yet, but Jim, it's really
They'll be
good.
there. We
You're
know
gonna be,
that.
well, I know you'll be there. I don't know. I'll tell
I
you.
mean, they'll be
I'll
there
tell you
too.
soon. I'll tell you soon offline what it is. But the theme is chef's kiss. All right. Well, today we're talking all about leadership development and evaluating leadership development. One of the reasons that we were thinking like, well, what should we be talking about? I put this on like the list was because we sent out a survey. See, like we've practiced what we preach at Kirkpatrick. So I sent out a survey to anybody on our email list, and we put it on social too, asking for feedback, right? Like, what are some things that you're interested in? Like, what do you want to know more about when it comes to evaluation, right? Like any specific areas. And by and large, number one was leadership development. And in today's world, I think it's so crucial for us to have really good leadership development programs because I keep hearing managers are the problem, managers are their problem, managers are their problem. But I don't ever hear, well, that leader was the problem, in the true definition of like a leader, right? Not like senior leadership. Like, no, like a true definition, because they could be senior leadership, but they could still be managers. Managers and leaders are totally different. And we're going to get to a place where we're going to not have enough leaders to lead our organizations forward. And we're not too many managers that are causing strife and toxicity and negative cultures for our employees where we just burn them out, and it's just not what people want for the future. So I think investing in leadership development is critical. And every Tom, Dick, and Harry is selling you a leadership development program. So how do you know that the one that you pick or the one that you develop is going to work for you? And that's where I think, evaluation has to be crucial, because leadership development programs are not cheap at all. And so if you're going to invest your time, money, energy, talent, resources, you want to make sure that you're getting a return on your investment. Do you have any past experience, Jim, with talking with others or supporting any leadership development evaluation programs?
Yeah, all the time. I had one recently where somebody asked me out of the blue, we'd like you to recommend a leadership program for us, a leadership model. And I said, well, tell me more. Why are you asking?
Yeah.
Well, we've gone through 4 models in the last 5 years. We spend a lot of money on each one, and each one fails.
Mm.
So you know where I'm going with that, don't you? And I think it was Blanchard and Covey and some other ones. I'm thinking, there's there right away. It's just blasting me in the head.
Mm-hmm.
This is about executing the model. There's nothing wrong with the models. They have different approaches, but
How
I
did you
think
know
that
if it's the right one for your organization if you didn't do a proper needs assessment? You're so right. It's not the model, it's the execution. Yeah.
it is. And so that's and the other day I saw a whole list of programs that were deemed mission critical. Leadership development was deemed non-mission critical. So it fell into a whole different category of
Really?
funding and effort. And I looked at some of the things that were mission critical. I thought, what could be more mission critical than the leaders of the people that go through all the other training
Mm-hmm.
and don't have effective leaders to help manage them and support them and hold them accountable and all that? Well, I don't know what could be more mission critical than that.
I mean, without telling the secrets, what was on that list that was mission critical over your leaders?
The technical ones.
Oh. Mm.
And, and, and I mean, there was a big long list. There was some other soft skills ones, communication, conflict resolution. Those were in there, but
Which is funny because that's usually part of a leadership development program. All right, I've got some problems with that list, but I digress.
I had a lot of problems with that. But I'm so glad we're doing this. Um, and you said one of the keys is if the culture is toxic or unsupportive or whatever, and it happens all the time. And I think you and I both know that just because we train people to be leaders doesn't mean that they sometimes they go back to that culture where their leaders
Yep.
are ineffective in whatever way. And just a preview of coming attractions here, what I told this group I worked with last week is that when they say they don't have the power to deal with that, I say right away in this program you need to recruit top level management and make sure that they know they're going to be involved with this, because when there is toxic culture or ineffective culture, leadership development is going to cannot solve it, but the top leaders can be called upon it now that they have agreed to be recruited as part of the program
Mm-hmm.
to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's what our necessity for success. We can't expect to go and challenge people above our pay grades and all that stuff. That it's career threatening. But if we have recruited those people that are above, then and they know why they're doing it,
Mm-hmm.
in order to release the power of all the people that have gone through leadership development as supervisors and all that. It works when it happens. It just doesn't happen as often as I'd like to see it.
Yeah, that's a really great point, Jim. I think that is if I had to drum up the frequently asked questions, one of the frequently asked questions would definitely be like, I can't ask them, like, how am I going to get them to realize that the culture is toxic? And everyone wants to throw leadership development as the solution to that, as opposed to getting to the root of it. Because the root could be really ugly. The root can be not flattering for you as maybe a leader or as a CEO. You know what I mean? Like, what are my behaviors that are causing this sort of behavior? And I'm just going to say it,
Yep.
Sometimes it's learned behavior, right? It's like, if something happened at the girls' school the other day, excuse me, and I looked at my husband and I was like, that they didn't learn that. Oh no, it wasn't. It was something happened with my niece. She's getting bullied by another student whose brother bullied my nephew. And I said,
Oh my.
This is not like they're little kids. This is learned behavior, right? Because this is what they see as acceptable. That's that same principle applies at work, right? Um, if you, this is the culture and this is the environment that you're in, like you're going to exude that. Like you're what do they say? Like you're like the product of this 5 people that you surround yourself with. And so same principle applies. So I think if you're going to evaluate your leadership development program, you make a good point because you're going to want to throw the baby out with the bathwater because the evaluation is not going to go very well, right?
Right. Right.
But if you're not truly doing that root cause analysis at what's happening at level 3,
Yeah.
that's where you uncover whether or not is the program or the model. And sometimes the model is wrong. And
Right.
not in general, but like
Yeah.
wrong for your organization. It doesn't fit your organization. You know what I mean?
And Vanessa, a lot of people think that leadership development programs
Mm-hmm.
are the solution
Hmm.
to a lot of things that you're talking about. And let's just pretend here that you're a senior leader, and I would say, this is not going to be leadership development is not just a training that you're going to send people to
Mm-hmm.
emerging leaders or whatever the latest name for it is. It's going to have to be a whole package. It's program with a capital B that involves all these kind of things, assessing what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And if Vanessa, what I would say to you as the senior person here is, my question to you is, if there are some things that are going on that are beyond leadership development and about supervision that we have uncovered, would you
Mm.
want to know about it?
Um, you're asking me as Vanessa or
Well,
that? So there's a caveat, right?
as Vanessa, you would say yes. I know that, but the idea there is
I
hopefully
mean,
what you said. Yeah, go ahead.
so to say is you're making my head spin in a business sense while I'm trying to record a podcast because I'm like, that's a really good business opportunity to partner with leadership development companies to offer evaluation support, right? And implementation support. So if you are a leadership development company that would like, to partner with Kirkpatrick, let me know. Um, and you're right. You know, you have to build in that consulting, you have to build in that support, you have to build in that coaching in
Yeah.
order to ensure what is being implemented is going to work. I'll give the metaphor again, right? Tom Brady didn't become the greatest of all time because he went to one training session. He has a coach. He has a trainer, right? He has people that to help hold him accountable to ensure what he learned is being executed. And I'm going to repeat myself from the podcast this morning. I did a podcast with one of our affiliates this morning, and I said, they asked about how do you translate this to the business, and I would say, well, here in the States, they're from India. I said, here in the States, I would say, Tom Brady is the greatest of all time in football, right? Yeah. Well, wasn't it that one time he threw the football that made him the greatest of all time? No,
Uh-huh.
Vanessa, there's all these other components. And I said, oh, okay. So like not just going to one training session, right? Right. So why is that okay for Tom Brady, but not okay for your employees? You expect them to go to that one training, that one leadership development program and be an expert. That's not apples to apples. It's not the same. You
And it's
can't.
usually new leaders too. The higher up they go, the more you say, oh, that they're beneath going to leadership training. Well, then do leadership coaching, with
Mm-hmm.
them. But somebody has to be working with them to make sure they are not allowing or even facilitating a toxic culture where good leaders will not have even a chance of being successful with their employees.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point when we talk about evaluating, and I think that there is a difference between and not a full difference, but a difference between evaluating a leadership development program that are targeting um, like leaders that have been in their role, for a few years, like senior, like executive leadership programs versus a program for new leadership. And I say
Right.
that because executive programs, like you are learning new skills, but they have a lot of experience that they're going to be pulling into the program and into their work. And they kind of they've gotten some reps in, so they kind of know how they need to go. New leaders have no idea what they're doing. A lot of them just were really good at their job. They're really good
Right.
coders or really good salespeople or really good, IT people. They
Yep.
weren't, they weren't practicing leadership. They weren't practicing management. Um, and so when you're talking about the importance of evaluating, it's not just evaluating, did the model work? It's what are the support systems that we need to put in place, right? That coaching. And it's different, right? You can't take one leadership development evaluation plan and copy and paste it to the next one because your learners are different and their supports are going to be different.
I'm going to throw something out there
Oh
as an
no.
idea that, uh, leadership development programs, they're very common.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what happens. What about first coming up with a leadership strategy? And I would bet you and consultants and people, you mentioned Jordan before,
Mm-hmm.
could go into a company and say, we're here to work with you first about finding out what kind of a strategy you want to have, what kind of a model you have, before we go and train people that are not suited. It's inconsistent. And a lot of that would be accountability and support and all that stuff. And I never hear about that. Preparing the way by what is your leadership strategy? They say, oh, it's Covey. Well,
Yeah.
that's the training, or Blanchard is a training, or whatever else it is. I would think we would be good at that.
Mm-hmm. I think that we would be excellent at that, and we are good at that.
I do too.
And our most successful customers are the ones that take the time to build the strategy.
That's right.
And
That's
I would
right.
say, if you were asking, the reason that
I
people
am.
don't do that is
Yep.
because it's faster to take something off the shelf and apply it.
Right. Right.
Now, it doesn't mean that you can't take something off the shelf, but it has to be off the shelf but customizable. And not like we're going to customize every little nitty gritty, like the colors and this and that. But if I can take it off the shelf and build my own leadership development program that works better because I'm informed by the strategy, and now I can then fill in the gaps where that program isn't going to meet the needs, then that is a way to save time, money, energy, and resources, but still get that customization. Like, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, and I think people think it's all or nothing. But they also want to run really fast, so they start sprinting, and they don't realize that these things, the sprint, it's a marathon. So by the time they get to like the 1 mile mark, they're exhausted. You just ran a lot. I'd be tired too. That's why I don't run. I walk because I know by walking it's slower, but I'm going to get where I need to go, and I'm going to have the stamina to keep going, and I can walk a lot faster or a lot longer than I can run. And that's the mindset our organizations need.
Love that.
But it's hard. I can say it. I'm a CEO. I'm constantly thinking about new products, bringing in more sales, what do the people need, all of those pieces. And, I think it's more, I can be that CEO that wants to run really fast. And it's because of conversations with my team, because I trust them, that slow me down. And not slow me down where it's like a screeching halt, but slow me down where it's we're going to get there, but we got to, like, here's the groundwork we need to lay first. Because remember, you also have to remember a CEO or typically a CEO, depending on the type of CEO you have, or an executive, right? Any sort of senior leader that's in that sort of role, they're inherently visionary. So I'm thinking about running really fast because I see the vision. I know where we can go and I want to get there.
Right.
And it takes someone else to like help translate that a little bit to me. Like, Vanessa, remember, you can see it. We're still catching up with you because our skill set is not in that way. Like, that's not how we're wired. That pulls me back. And so I think, you know, I don't know. It's hard for people. It's I see both sides of it, and I know that you can't always get to the CEO depending on your organization, right? Like,
But you can get, but I, you know what I always say about level 1 and level 2, absolutely essential, but not sufficient to get the job done. Leadership development programs, absolutely essential, but not sufficient in and of themselves to get the job done, because you may just be running up against a counterculture.
Yeah.
Or think they're out there. So, you know, which is why I know when people sign up for programs, you know, for in-house programs, you guys, me sometimes, always spend time finding what are the needs there. What would you like to see happen from this, rather than just send us your roster of who's going to be there.
Oh,
Because we want to
absolutely.
know what this is all about, so we can kind of customize it as we go,
Yeah.
the questions and the examples that we share.
Oh, totally. Our programs are not custom per person or per group in the full sense of the word. But to your point, there's the needs assessment. So we tailor, right?
Right.
It's a
Right.
tailoring.
Right. The method's all the same, but the emphasis and some of the you can shift the discussion a little bit to support. But it
Yeah.
also, we want to know, the senior leaders know, this is the people are being trained, and here's what you could do to help them to get back.
When it comes to evaluating at the different levels, what are some things that you've seen work well, like strategies for evaluation at levels 3 and 4 in particular?
The first thing comes to my mind are what we call the required drivers. These are
Mm.
drivers of the behavior, either in a supportive way or a more accountability way. And I don't mean accountability is coming down on people. It means finding different ways to hold people accountable. That is the first thing, is to make sure as they develop their plans that that is really solid. Don't just rely on the training, but the essential training needs to be leveraged by what happens afterwards. So I think at level 3, that's the most important thing, is to develop, with the help and the guidance from senior leaders and line managers and supervisors, what is going to be the strategy of how we're going to pull this through in order to maximize the training benefit to the organization. That's first thing comes to my mind, is that's what we encourage them to do.
How do you identify leading indicators though for a leadership development program?
Well, I think that is the supervisors and managers, where you're doing some kind of a conversation with them and saying, you know, they're a lot of the times the ones that write the prescription. Here's the training we want.
Yeah.
What are the things that you would like to see come from this? And we don't want to guess what they are. We may give them options, but they say, well, these 5 things are what would indicate progress to us from an internal point of view that can be directly impacted by the training. And then we want to somehow have people have a conversation with higher level people. What kind of ultimate impacts and signs of progress would you like to see? So we really offer them ideas and help shape it a little bit. And then we know kind of the path that is credible and meaningful to them as we make progress through the execution of it.
I love that you're calling it progress and not like result, right?
Yeah.
Because
right.
That's the crux of a leadership development program, right? Like, it takes time, it takes energy, it's a cruise ship, right? It turns slowly, right? Because you're dealing with humans and people's behavior at the end of the day. When we're talking about a leadership development program, this isn't like a slap it on you and, you know, you're going to like become an expert leader. It takes time. It takes reps. It takes failing. And that's the part that I think also we don't love when it comes to measurement. with these programs is like they're afraid to fail. But there's a lot of value in failing. There's a lot of lessons, and that's actually a good thing when you're evaluating your leadership development program. Like, you want to know that they failed at something, because number one, that'll tell you like where you need some additional coaching and support, but it's a lesson for them to be better for next time.
Vanessa, I'm going to just support what you're saying. I listened to a talk last weekend or last week, and what the research says that organizations that have more errors tend to be more healthy than those that don't. And he went on to explain the ones that are unhealthy hide their errors, but the ones that are healthy know that they can say, hey, I messed up here. Can you help me? And they have the culture that doesn't punish them, but the culture that says, we want you to let us know what's working and what isn't. And we create that trusting atmosphere. Sure, more errors become aware of them, but then you can fix them rather than people trying not to let people discover what they've done wrong.
Was that at the conference that you were at that you heard that?
Yes.
Oh,
big
yeah.
time.
I was hoping that maybe it was an article that you read, because I would have loved to read that.
It's wonderful. It's talking about the culture of trust and happiness, and it was brilliant.
Oh,
you can get it. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look for it. I'm also sad that I wasn't at that conference. I'm not over here jealous of you at all, but very jealous. I should have worn green. Obviously green for Kirkpatrick. Oh wait, I'm going to Ireland. I'm going to where your people are from, Jim.
What, you're going to Ireland?
I am. In like a week or two. Well, at the time of recording, there's a conference there that I'll be going to. So it's my first time. I need to bring my like all my Kirkpatrick things. Oh my God, all my green. I'm so excited. This is exciting.
They'll love you just for the name of the company that you run.
I hope so. I hope they will. I hope they will.
Good for you.
Thank you. So friends, I do want to just also share that we do have another episode on this topic. We did this episode back in November. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. And so we have another episode with Megan Galloway about unearthing your treasure troves and all of the treasure from your leadership development program. She was a speaker at our Kirkpatrick Summit. So if you want more on leadership development, it is there. And we've got more stuff coming when it comes to leadership development program and evaluation. I'm telling you, like, this is the second year she's in the business, and now it's time for all the new stuff, all the fun stuff. Not that the programs weren't fun, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of new things that are coming to help make evaluation a requirement as opposed to an option. So friends, we appreciate your time. We would love to hear more about how you're evaluating your leadership development programs, where you've seen some fails, where you've seen some successes, and we'll catch you all on the next one. Thanks, Jim. Bye.